Developing right now on Morning News Now, President Trump facing the fallout over an alleged land attack on Venezuela as part of an anti-drug trafficking campaign against the South American country. Now lawmakers are demanding answers. What we're learning about the strike, plus reaction from both sides of the aisle. Also this morning, funding frozen. The Trump administration saying it is stopping payments for child care programs in Minnesota over a now viral video of a YouTuber accusing several daycare centers of fraud.
It's more political rather than corruption. We want this propaganda and attacks to stop.
More on the allegations and the investigation now underway, plus a staggering surge in flu cases across the country, with hospitalizations doubling in just 1 week. What doctors want you to know to stay healthy for the rest of the holiday season. And the final countdown, that is right, it is New Year's Eve and the party preparations are underway for the big celebration in New York's Times Square. But you better bundle up. We're tracking freezing temperatures and winter storms from coast to coast. We will have your forecast so you can plan ahead. Good morning. It is good to be with you. I'm Jessica Layton in for Joe and Savannah. We begin this morning with the fallout from what appears to be the first known U.S. strike on land in Venezuela. If it was indeed carried out by the Trump administration, it marks a major escalation in the U.S. military campaign against alleged drug trafficking by the South American country. President Trump is facing mounting questions after he acknowledged a recent explosion on Monday.
There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs. So we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around.
The CIA is not commenting on reports that it was responsible for carrying out the strike last week, and NBC News has not independently confirmed the strike. The White House also did not respond to NBC's request for comments about the president's remarks. House Democrats, though, now calling on the administration to provide many more answers. Retired Army Colonel Steve Warren is standing by for us with military analysis. But first, let's go to NBC News senior White House correspondent Garrett Haake for the very latest. Garrett, good morning. So far, neither the CIA nor the Pentagon are commenting on this, but information is coming out in bits and pieces from a recent radio interview the president did to some eyewitness accounts that may be tied to the apparent U.S. strike on land. What are you learning?
Yeah, Jess, good morning. This is a strange situation where the facts don't all seem to add up to paint the same picture. The president first acknowledged this strike in a radio interview last Friday. It took a couple days before reporters were able to ask him about it. The president had said the strike had taken place 2 days prior. That would have meant on Christmas Eve. Since then, the administration, not the Pentagon, not the intelligence agencies, no one else in the administration has put out any information about the strike. And what we've been able to find out from the Venezuelan side comes to us in the form of tribesmen who we've talked to, members of the indigenous community who live in this area of northwest Venezuela, who say there was an explosion of some kind in what they described as a storage hut, but that had happened on the 18th of December. So is it possible there was more than one strike? Is it possible that the president is misspeaking? We simply don't know. But we do know, as you laid out, that there's going to be a significant push for answers to those questions from members of Congress, particularly Democrats, who are already demanding a briefing from the administration as soon as they get back to town next week.
So much more to that I'm sure. On another foreign policy front, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says he's discussing the possibility of hosting U.S. troops in Ukraine as part of security guarantees involved in a potential plan to end the war with Russia. What would it look like to have U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine, Garrett? And is the White House saying anything about this yet?
Look, I think that possibility is still a remote one. The president, you'll remember, ran on the idea of ending the war in Ukraine. He was firmly against the idea of further U.S. involvement. He's continued U.S. involvement to some degree over the first year of this administration, but deploying troops in what amounts to still an active war zone where they could serve as a tripwire as NATO troops with Russia, I think would be a politically perilous move for this administration. That said, Zelensky and his European allies have made it very clear that they see the security guarantees, the idea of a really firm buffer against a future aggressive action from Russia, as a key element before they will agree to anything in this peace plan. Zelensky has said that the idea of a 15-year security guarantee isn't enough. He wants to see that bumped up to 50. I think this is one of those issues in which both sides want to make it appear perhaps that they are a little bit closer to an agreement than they actually are, because the logistics of how this would work, whether it be U.S. troops, Polish troops, troops from some other NATO nation, all of which Russia has rejected, is a very important small thing that could become a big stumbling block to ultimately getting to a peace deal.
Garrett, before we let you go, we know the rhetoric between the Trump administration and the Iranian regime has been heating up all week. Following his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu on Monday, President Trump threatened to take military action against Iran if the country attempts to build weapons or restart its nuclear program. And of course, it comes amid several days of mass protests in Iran over inflation and plummeting value of its local currency. Yesterday, we know the U.S. announced new sanctions. What are those details?
Yeah, this is interesting because there's actually a nexus to Venezuela here among the various Iranian individuals and companies sanctioned here, all of which work in their, what you would call their traditional weapons industry, right? Not in their nuclear program, but things like technologies that are important to making ballistic missiles and particularly to drone manufacture. Iran makes what are sold in much of the rest of the world, these cheap, fairly reliable, effective military drones. They were selling those to Venezuela. That country, those individuals are now under U.S. sanctions as the U.S. basically tries to squeeze both of these governments, which are allied to a certain extent. The Iranian economy is in tough shape. Obviously, their administration there has been trying to project power and authority and the idea that they will build back the military programs there that were so badly degraded in the 12-day war with Israel that also ultimately included the United States. This sort of dual pressure campaign, I think, serves a domestic political purpose for President Trump to look like he is sort of projecting toughness and strength against these enemies, and also has that kind of knock-on effect of squeezing the Maduro regime in Venezuela still further.
Garrett Haake, thanks so much this morning. For more now, we want to bring in NBC News military analyst, retired Army Colonel Steve Warren. He's also a former Pentagon spokesperson. Colonel, thanks so much for joining me today. Let's start with the recent actions in Venezuela. If an attack was carried out by the United States, it would certainly represent an escalation. Obviously, Congress wants answers. So can you explain, when it comes to oversight, what would the difference be if the CIA carried out the strike versus a branch of the military?
Jess, there's a significant difference, and that difference is the president is not required under the War Powers Act to notify Congress of a covert action such as what may have taken place here in Venezuela. If it's an overt action conducted by the United States military, there are requirements for the president to inform Congress. For these covert actions, it's really more custom. It's more congressional relations. The president, presidents have wanted to keep up good relations with Congress and would therefore notify very certain senior members of Congress ahead of operations like this. This keeps Congress on board, allows funding to continue to flow, et cetera, et cetera. In this case, the president has not yet done that, and there really is no requirement for him to do so.
Colonel, I want to get your reaction to the comments from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky about the security guarantees that he is seeking. How do you think a U.S. troop deployment to Ukraine would impact the war with Russia? And do you think that's even realistic?
Well, it would have an amazing impact, and it would potentially, change the entire dynamic there on the ground. To answer your more important question, is it realistic? Probably doubtful at best. This would be a massive undertaking to put the number of troops in Ukraine that would be required to maintain peace. It would be a massive, massive undertaking, multiple thousands of troops, all of the logistics that goes with it. This would be a lot. Additionally, you're now putting American forces and Russian forces potential in a situation where there could potentially be conflict, miscalculation, mistakes, very, very high risk operation that would take a tremendous amount of effort at extraordinary cost.
Colonel, on the last day of the year, we like to reflect on what has gone on. President Trump took office pledging to end U.S. involvement in foreign conflicts. In fact, you know, he's branded himself as a peacemaker. I'm wondering if you have any end-of-year takeaways about the state of those efforts and what position now the U.S. enters in 2026 when it comes to foreign policy.
Yeah, it's an amazing sort of two sides of the coin, right? The president is claiming credit for having ended as many as 8 wars. That's debatable, but that's the credit that he claims. Simultaneously, for the first time ever, we've bombed multiple nations that we've never bombed before: Iran, Venezuela, etc. We've continued bombings in other places like Syria and across the Middle East. So I think the number one takeaway here, Jessica, foreign affairs, international affairs, geopolitics, these are complicated, difficult, thorny issues that require a tremendous amount of work, skill, and experience to work through.
Colonel Steve Warren, happy early New Year to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jess.
The Trump administration says it is halting all federal child care funding to Minnesota. It comes as the FBI ramps up an investigation into allegations of widespread fraud at daycare centers in that state. Over the weekend, a right-wing YouTuber accused several child care centers in the Minneapolis area of fraud in a now viral video. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services says there will be new funding requirements for child care programs across the U.S. NBC News senior Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley joins me now with more on this. Julia, good morning. Let's go back a little bit. The Justice Department has been running a sprawling investigation that involves some members of Minnesota's Somali community for years. There are about 84,000 Somali Americans who live in the Minneapolis area. State officials say only 82 are linked to fraud schemes. So how widespread do officials think this is, and how far back does it go?
Well, it does go far back. I mean, there were initial fraud investigations after PPP loans went out during COVID. And in Minnesota, in this area alone, they found $250 million worth of fraud going out to child nutrition programs in 2022 under the Biden administration. Of course, there was widespread fraud across the country with a lot of loans after the pandemic. In Minnesota in particular, though, there have been continued interest. Just in September, there was what was known as Operations Twin Shield. They looked in the Minneapolis area and continued to find issues related to fraud, that time related to immigration benefits. And yes, oftentimes this does involve the Somali community. As you pointed out, it's a huge community. It's the largest diaspora of Somalis anywhere in the world. Most of them came in the mid-90s amid the country's civil war. Many are naturalized U.S. citizens. And so, of course, people in the Somali community say that this is giving them an unjust reputation. But what's important to know is that what has sparked this change overnight, this drawback of funding, this extra scrutiny for childcare across the country, is because of a still yet unproven viral video in which this right-wing YouTuber, Nick Shirley, goes to daycare centers across Minneapolis and says there are no children there.
Julia, the Justice Department and the FBI both sent agents to dozens of those businesses in Minnesota this week. 2 questions here. Have they uncovered any new evidence of fraud? And do we have any response from people who worked at these daycare centers that are being accused?
Well, that is clearly the question now. I mean, this video really caught fire right after the Christmas holiday. And on Monday, the commissioner in Minneapolis, in the state of Minnesota, who oversees his daycare, said they would also be going door knocking to those businesses in the video. FBI said they were already on the ground. DHS knocked on more than 30 businesses on Monday. We've yet to see what the results of those are. And so far, what we've heard from just our own affiliate in Minneapolis, speaking to a business owner of one of those daycares where Nick Shirley visited, said he came outside of business hours. He said they usually provide childcare starting at 2 p.m., likely for kids after school, and said that he came early in the morning. So, of course, there were no children or cars there. When our affiliate went, there were many cars there. And so it's questions like that, things like the time of day when he visited, that all really need to be settled at this point. But there are already policy changes as a result.
And we will get to those in just a second. But first, I want to mention that current federal prosecutors estimate the total amount of daycare fraud in Minnesota could top $9 billion. But state officials say that's not true. They think it's more like millions of dollars in fraud over the last 7 years, not billions. Either way, how are Minnesota state officials responding to the latest developments in this investigation?
Well, they are responding by saying that they are also going out and door knocking and going to those businesses. They say that each of the 10 daycare centers featured in Nick Shirley's video had received a visit by the department overseeing child care and welfare in the Minnesota area just within the last 6 months. And that while there had been some other violations we saw, like not having crib mattresses up to standards, they did not see any fraud violations. But we expected to get those results yesterday. We've not yet heard from the commissioner's office about what they found in the particular cases of those 10 daycare centers.
And now for the possible policy changes, how will the new federal funding requirements for childcare change?
Well, this will mean a dramatic pullback, of course, when it comes to all of this federal funding going to Minneapolis. They'll continue to receive state funding through what's known as the CCAP program. But across the board, there will be new requirements for daycare centers that are receiving federal subsidies. Now they'll be asked to provide photo evidence, really just to show that they are in existence and bringing in children. So far, what we've seen from HHS is that they want more photographic evidence of the businesses, the kind of business that these daycare centers are providing.
All right, Julia Ainsley, thank you so much. New Year's Eve preparations are happening around the world right now, and one of the biggest celebrations is just a few blocks away from us over in Times Square, where more than 1 million people are expected to gather tonight. Officials here in New York City have been working around the clock to ensure the start of 2026 is both memorable and safe. For more on this, let's check in with NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda, who is in Times Square this morning. Emily, good morning. I saw the barricades up, the road closures when I was coming in. What other preparations is the NYPD making to make sure that everything is safe?
Well, a lot and on all levels. Local, state and federal authorities are already on the ground. This is an event that they prepare for all year. The NYPD calling it its biggest event of the year. A new ball will help welcome in the new year. We will watch the 12,000-pound Constellation ball drop just behind me. And while some 1 million people, like you mentioned, are expected to pack into Times Square here to watch the celebrations, the NYPD will be watching the crowd with even more officers this year to make sure everything goes safely and smoothly. In addition to the elevated numbers of officers, there will be a presence both on the ground and in the sky. You might even be able to hear the whirring of helicopters overhead. There will be drones, dogs, specific pickpocket teams patrolling the crowd to reduce crime and any criminal activity. There will be specialized teams and heavily armored units. You mentioned already the number of barricades and road closures, massive equipment and trucks as well. The NYPD says at this time there is no specific credible threat to this event, but of course they are handling it with a lot of vigilance. Also, the other factor here that officials are paying close attention to is just the cold, the frigid temperatures, encouraging people to layer up, to bundle up, not just here in New York, but also from Minnesota to Maine, as so many people are bracing for dropping temperatures. Jessica.
A dropping ball and dropping temperatures. Emily Ikeda, thanks so much. Yeah. And with that, let's get a look at your New Year's Eve forecast with your morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Kevin Jeans joins us now. Kevin, good morning. Big night.
Good morning, Jessica. Yeah, so areas where it's cold, it is also going to be windy. So you've got the wind and the cold air and some snow showers to contend with across the Northeast. Heavy rain once again out west across California. I'm going to get back to that in just a moment. But cold blast air across the Great Lakes, the Midwest and the Northeast. So for the ball drop tonight, in New York City, temperatures lower 30s. The wind actually not too bad. The wind's going to increase after midnight, and especially tomorrow it will be windy. But still, it's going to feel like the low to mid-20s. So, as you just heard, layer up. Winter weather alerts for more lake effect snow yet again on the eastern edges of the Great Lakes, and you're looking at more big-time snow. It has been snowing just relentlessly, really, over the last week. This continues the rest of this week. So another clipper system moves through. We'll see a few snow showers across the Northeast, but it's those lake effect bands we're most concerned with. So an additional foot, even 2 feet possible through Saturday. Then we look out west again. More flood watches across Southern California, and this could be one of the rainiest New Year's days in over 90 years. for Los Angeles. This is coming from the south, too. So even the snow elevations above 8,500 feet. So a lot of rain, flash flooding possible, even a low-end risk of a weak spin-up or an isolated tornado across Southern California and coastal Southern California. That'll be overnight and into tomorrow morning. So rain totals could see 3+ inches, especially on the southward facing slopes. Kind of unusual. The only severe threat we have across the country, Jessica, is Southern California. From about midnight until noon tomorrow, some heavy rain, flooding once again, top of mind there. Even lightning, very rare to have lightning strikes in January, but Rose Bowl Parade, New Year's Day.
Yeah, it looks messy.
Looks messy. A lot of rain.
A lot of cold here in the Northeast.
A lot of cold here.
Kevin, thank you. Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Later this hour, a grim discovery in the search for a missing teenager in Texas. We'll have the latest coming from investigators. But up first, right after the break, new developments in the case of the man charged with planting pipe bombs near the U.S. Capitol. Why the suspect's lawyers say he qualifies for a conditional release. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Brian Cole, the suspect charged with planting pipe bombs near the U.S. Capitol 5 years ago, is requesting a conditional release from jail. In a motion for the release, Cole's attorney said he was diagnosed with a mild form of autism and that he poses no ongoing threat to the community. Cole has not yet entered a plea. A federal judge declined to rule on his release in a hearing yesterday, saying there were, quote, important arguments under consideration. For more on this, I'm joined by NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grumbach. Gary, good morning. Several of the character references of people who have known Cole for years were included in the defense team's filing. Walk me through what happened in yesterday's hearing and what Cole's lawyers are saying.
Hey there. Good morning, Jessica. Yeah, when a judge is considering whether to release somebody pre-trial, they have to consider a number of factors, including whether they're a risk of flight, whether they're a risk to the community, what their past criminal record is, and the seriousness of the charges against the individual. Brian Cole's defense attorney saying he has no risk of flight. He's lived in the same place for several years and did not try to flee after January of 2021. They also said he has zero criminal record, absolutely nothing else on his record, not even a traffic ticket. And they said he didn't downplay the seriousness of the charges, but he did make the point that nobody was killed or injured when this individual placed these pipe bombs allegedly on January 5th of 2021. Brian Cole's grandmother did get up in court yesterday and volunteered to be his third-party custodian should he be released from jail. Jessica.
Gary, have we learned anything new in terms of the evidence that prosecutors have gathered against Cole?
Yeah, there was a trove of evidence that they gathered from the home and the vehicle of Brian Cole, and it was a lot of the same pipe bomb making material that was used for the pipe bombs that were dropped outside of the RNC and the DNC back in 2021. They also talked about all the evasive measures that Brian Cole allegedly took, including wearing a face mask, wearing gloves, and using disinfectant wipes to remove fingerprints from the pipe bombs when he dropped them at the RNC and DNC. He also allegedly wiped his phone more than 900 times between December of 2020 and the day he was arrested, December 3rd, earlier this month.
So no ruling from the judge yesterday. Where do we go from here?
Yeah, no ruling yet. We are waiting for it. We are refreshing here on the docket. We expect the ruling to come sometime today. If he is released, if Brian Cole is released, we expect him to be released under serious conditions of release, meaning he cannot perhaps leave his home under house arrest. He only can go to his job and several other release. He cannot own a firearm. He cannot drink. He cannot do drugs. So should he be released, he's not necessarily a free man, but he certainly wouldn't be in jail. Jessica.
Gary Grumbach, thanks so much. We want to update you now on a story that we've been following about a missing woman in Texas. Yesterday, during the course of their search, authorities found a body and a gun in a field roughly 100 yards from the home of Camila Mendoza Olmos. Law enforcement officials say at this point it has not been determined if the body is hers, but the 19-year-old San Antonio woman was last seen leaving her home on the morning of Christmas Eve. The medical examiner has not determined a cause of death here yet, but authorities do not suspect foul play and say this person may have died from self-harm. If you or anyone you know is struggling, you can call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. To international news now, starting in Peru, where authorities are investigating a deadly train crash on the line to a world-famous tourist destination. NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now to take us around the world in 60 seconds. Raf, good morning.
Hey, Jessica, good morning. Yeah, at least one person killed, around 40 injured after a head-on train collision near Peru's ancient city of Machu Picchu. The two trains slammed into each other on a single track, local authorities say, and the U.S. Embassy in Peru says there are Americans among the injured. In the West African nation of Guinea, the country's military ruler is claiming victory in the presidential election. The junta chief won 86.7% of the vote, according to the Electoral Commission, but civil society groups say the election was not free or fair. And finally, the last post in Denmark. The Danish post office, PostNord, delivered its final letter yesterday as Denmark becomes the first country in the world to stop delivering physical mail. Authorities say it is no longer economically viable, given how few letters are written and posted these days. And before you ask, yes, Amazon, other package delivery services will continue to deliver. Jessica.
Of course they will. All right, Rob, thanks so much. Well, the Winter Olympic Games begin in just 37 days in Italy, and Team USA is kicking up their preparations into high gear. After making the 2022 Olympic team, Ben Ogden from Vermont established himself as one of the best young cross-country skiers in the sport. Reporter Eli Rosenberg from NBC Boston has more on his hopes to represent Team USA at the Milan Games.
In the crush of another season, preparing for the Olympics. This is where Ben Ogden is at peace.
I was so proud of myself.
Tinkering, working to restore his 1973 Land Rover. This serenity inside Ogden's Landgrove, Vermont barn. A sharp contrast to this.
There we go, babe.
The all-out, max heart rate, push it to the limit, cross-country skiing style that has propelled Ogden to the top of his game.
I try to think of it as a privilege, you know, like going out training every day and thinking about your goal of getting an Olympic medal is a total privilege that not all athletes get to experience.
An experience that started here in the backcountry of Landgrove. Ogden's dad, the coach of his youth ski league. And Olympic cross-country silver medalist William Bill Koch lived just down the street, creating a culture and an environment for the sport.
When I was young, this is kind of what everybody did after school. Everybody went to cross-country ski practice, and I went to the races on the weekends and stuff. Our family has a unique understanding of like what's possible in the ski world and how everything goes. So I think it's been cool to like rise to the level that I have.
A level that Ogden continues to push. Ogden following up on his 2022 Olympics by winning the U23 green bib in 2023, cementing himself as the fastest cross-country skier under 23. And he's now powering himself to his second Olympics.
Now my goals are to capitalize once I get there and to like take those experiences from Beijing and figure out how to be the best version of myself possible.
Back in Ogden's happy place, a spot he shared with us during a recent visit, the pace of restoration has slowed a bit with training ramping up. But the goal remains the same. Find a way to honor the past of this truck, of this region, and this sport.
The community here in southern Vermont and in this area has shaped me more than I think I can ever realize. I look around and I think about those days sweating it out on, up in the hay lofts and stuff, and I think that that's going to get me over the finish line faster than everybody else, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but, all you need is that belief.
Our thanks to Eli Rosenberg for that report. And as a reminder, the Winter Games are right around the corner. Complete coverage of the 2026 Olympics begin Friday, February 6th on NBC and Peacock. Coming up, 'tis the flu season. Cases of the flu are still on the rise, just as the holidays are about to come to a close. Dr. Azar is here with what you need to know to try to stay healthy. Next on Morning News Now. We're back now with some new data out of the CDC that shows a holiday surge in flu cases all across the country. They're reporting a nearly 26% increase the week before Christmas, and that brings the total number of cases to 7.5 million so far this year. Hospitalizations nearly doubled in a single week. According to the new data, flu activity is at high or very high levels in 32 states, with New York, Colorado, and Louisiana topping the list. For all the latest on this, I'm here with NBC News medical contributor Dr. Natalie Azar. Doctor, great to have you this morning. I know so many people who have at least one or two people in the house with flu right now. There is a tough new variant of the flu known as subclad K. How severe is this, and what's driving it?
So what is circulating right now, the predominant strain, it is a strain of influenza A called H3N2. It's a strain that circulates every year, but when it does predominate, we usually mean that that is going to be a more severe season. It just usually causes more severe illness. But adding an extra little wrinkle this year is that this particular strain had acquired a couple of mutations that make it less likely that the vaccine is going to protect you against getting infected with flu. But a really important message that I've really been trying to, get out there to viewers is that in spite of the fact that you still might get the flu, if you've had the vaccine will still protect you against severe disease, hospitalization, and death.
The concern is that people will hear, well, the shot is not effective this year, and that's all they hear. And we want to be clear, that's not the case. It's just the efficacy is slightly lower than years past.
Exactly. And I think, we always talk about that every year the flu shot is roughly 40 to 50% effective.
Right.
That number really just basically means the actual infection, meaning that you're going to get the flu, you might have a runny nose, you might have a low-grade fever, but there are different parts of the immune system, and the other part of the immune system that is activated from vaccination is what protects people from getting very, very sick. So I want to be very, very clear about that.
So when we look at tonight, for example, people are having house parties. There will be drinking. There will be sharing food. They'll be in close quarters. What do we need to know about New Year's Eve gatherings?
So, look, if you haven't gotten your flu shot yet, it's not too late to get it for the season, because remember, the flu shot also protects against another A strain as well as a B strain. It's not going to protect you for tonight. Tonight, when you're gathering with friends, if you are sick, you really should stay home. You don't want to go somewhere with a fever and start infecting others, but washing your hands frequently. If you are somewhere where there might be more vulnerable people, the very old, the very young, you can wear a mask, wash your hands frequently, don't touch your face. All of those measures that we say with really any respiratory illness also applies to tonight.
When we talk about that new variant, the subclad K, does it make it more easily transmissible, and are the symptoms different?
So the symptoms are not different. So we're talking about that sudden onset, fever, aches, chills, muscle pain, that kind of thing. Have people said, well, maybe we've seen a little bit, some more nausea and vomiting with this particular strain, maybe. It's not necessarily more contagious, but by virtue of the fact that the vaccine may not offer as robust protection against infection, we are seeing a lot more cases. We had 8 pediatric deaths so far this year. Vaccination rates for children are well below 50%, the same as they were last year. And last year we had a record high number of pediatric deaths. 90% of deaths in the pediatric age range were unvaccinated children, and 50% were healthy before they got the flu. So that's always my PSA. If you're not going to do it for yourself, caregivers, parents, please make sure your children get vaccinated. We're still in the thick of it. We're not nearing a peak at all.
So the peak you expect, what, couple weeks?
Probably a couple of weeks. Okay. The rise is still very, very steep, the curve. We are not leveling off yet.
All right. So get vaccinated and stay home if you don't feel well.
Stay home if you don't feel well.
Dr. Natalie Azar, thanks so much. Happy New Year to you. Well, the Kennedy family is mourning the loss of writer and journalist Tatiana Schlossberg, who passed away yesterday at age 35. She's the daughter of Caroline Kennedy Schlossberg and the granddaughter of President John F. Kennedy. She disclosed her terminal leukemia diagnosis in a poignant essay in The New Yorker just a month ago. NBC News Now anchor Helly Jackson has more on her life and her battle with cancer.
A devastating death for the Kennedy family, sharing Tatiana Schlossberg has died at just 35 years old. The daughter of Caroline Kennedy and granddaughter of former President John F. Kennedy, revealing her terminal cancer diagnosis just last month. In a heartbreaking essay, writing doctors discovered she had acute myeloid leukemia, a rare and aggressive blood cancer, when they performed testing shortly after she gave birth to her second child last year. Schlossberg writing, I had a son whom I loved more than anything and a newborn I needed to take care of. This could not possibly be my life. She detailed her grueling treatments, including chemotherapy and clinical trials, and her fight to spend more time with her children. Quote, my first thought was that my kids, whose faces live permanently on the inside of my eyelids, wouldn't remember me. Her essay also pointedly criticizing her cousin, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's cut funding critical to cancer research, calling his time on the national stage an embarrassment to me and the rest of my immediate family. Schlossberg was an environmental journalist and shared her work on Today in 2019.
Well, I think climate change is, the biggest story in the world. And if I could, help communicate about it, that might inspire other people to get involved and work on the issue.
The Kennedys, no strangers to tragedy, from the assassinations of President Kennedy and his brother Robert to the deaths of her uncle JFK Jr. and his wife in a plane crash. Schlossberg touching on the pain for her mother, writing, now I have added a new tragedy to her life, to our family's life, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. Her cousin, Maria Shriver, today saying she could not make sense of losing Tatiana, writing, she loved her life and she fought like hell to try to save it.
Our thanks to Helly Jackson for that report. Coming up, the new year means a new mayor here in New York City. Zohran Mamdani is set to be sworn into office at the stroke of midnight. A look at what to expect on Inauguration Day next. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. Here in New York, New Year's Eve usually means all the attention turns to the countdown in Times Square. But today, many around the city will also welcome the beginning of a new era with Zohran Mamdani as the city's new mayor. The Democratic Socialist will officially be sworn into office in a small private ceremony at the stroke of midnight. And then tomorrow, tens of thousands of his supporters are expected to attend Mamdani's ceremonial inauguration just outside City Hall. For more on this, let's bring in Editor-in-Chief of City and State New York, Jeff Colton. Jeff, good morning. Great to have you with us. Help set the stage for us. What do we know about how and where the mayor-elect will take the oath?
That's right. So tonight, while Times Square is filled with thousands and thousands of people, Zohran Mamdani is going to be at the old City Hall subway station. That is a subway station that was actually decommissioned in 1945, and it's become one of these cool New York insider things that you have to, get an appointment with the New York Transit Museum to even visit. It's not open to the general public, but as you can see in the pictures, I mean, it is beautiful and it's well preserved because it's basically been locked down for something like 80 years now. So Mamdani is doing this to celebrate the subway station, the subway system as a whole, and he's doing this as a quiet, smaller event where he'll be sworn in by New York Attorney General Letitia James. She's going to be the one that will be doing the honors with Mamdani. That's notable. She is obviously a very prominent New York politician. She's also somebody that has been a real critic and a thorn in Donald Trump's side, which is very notable given that Mamdani has had so far a relatively positive relationship with Trump. They had that very positive Oval Office meeting.
Yes, a lovely meeting there in the Oval Office. Now, Mamdani will become New York's first ever self-identified Democratic Socialist, as well as the city's first Muslim mayor. Has he given any kind of preview about what his message will be, and what do we know about the transition going in?
That's right. I'm expecting a much more unifying message at this inauguration. He had a pretty defiant message at times on election night. I mean, certainly there were some, unifying moments, but he received even some criticism for being, too defiant in a way. And look, this is a different kind of situation. Now it's the inauguration. And Mamdani's campaign was also marked by a very optimistic tone. I mean, his critics would say it was, naivete or promises he couldn't keep, but it was a very positive tone in comparison to some of his opponents that were calling New York, a hellscape. And so I would expect that same kind of celebratory tone about New York, very positive, talking about all the good that can happen in a Mamdani administration.
Let's talk about some of those promises that he may or may not be able to keep. On his way to winning the race, he made a lot of promises like free busing and freezing rents. Where does he start?
It's going to be with those free buses. I mean, the work has to start immediately coordinating with the MTA, the system that runs the buses. There's also free childcare. The state legislative session starts next week, and a lot of what Mamdani needs to get done will be in coordination with the state government, with New York Governor Kathy Hochul, with the state legislature. So he's already been really laying the groundwork, and he will be taking a trip up to Albany, and certainly members of his team will be going up there and making that effort for securing money to help with these promises.
As we say in news, stay tuned. Jeff Colton, Happy New Year to you. Thanks so much.
Happy New Year. Thank you.
Coming up, a year to remember. We've had no shortage of headlines in 2025, from heartbreaking tragedies to historic firsts and everything in between. We will close out the year with a look back next on Morning News Now. Welcome back. We will end the hour with a reflection on what has been a really remarkable year, full of major events and unexpected headlines. Here are the sights and sounds of the year that was, starting with the first few seconds of 2025.
It is a grim New Year's morning here to begin 2025.
The guy in the pickup truck just punched the gas and mowed over the barricade, and there were just bodies.
This area of Altadena has become a wasteland. This is like a hurricane in the middle of a brush fire.
I never thought I would live through something like this.
Crash. This is alert 3. An American Airlines regional jet colliding with an Army Black Hawk helicopter.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear. The golden age of America begins right now.
Just hours into his new term, President Trump delivering on some of the dramatic changes he promised.
The Eagles getting redemption.
We love this city. Go Birds!
This was more about the messages that Kendrick wanted to send rather than having a mass appeal music moment.
Music's biggest night was all about Beyonce.
Our plane crashed. Miraculously, officials say that all passengers and crew are accounted for.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
That contentious meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Zelensky unraveling in the Oval Office.
And splashdown, Crew 9 back on Earth.
The astronauts, known around the world as Butch and Sunny, finally back home.
Oh my God.
A dangerous and deadly outbreak of tornadoes ripped through 11 states.
You put your life into a place and it's destroyed in just a matter of minutes.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
President Trump today taking aim at friends and foes, announcing sweeping new reciprocal tariffs.
Chicken jockey.
The Minecraft movie pulling in at nearly $163 million on opening weekend.
The S&P 500 plunging 10% in 2 days.
Pope Francis has died.
The new pope has been elected on the second day of the conclave. And there he is, Pope Leo.
Did you think you would see an American
Never.
in your lifetime?
No, absolutely not.
Elon Musk is saying goodbye to Washington.
Elon is my friend, and he's done a fantastic job. I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
The blowing up bromance.
I'm not thinking about Elon. I just wish him well.
Israel launching what it's calling a preemptive strike on Iran's nuclear program.
Air raid sirens sounding in Israel as the Iron Dome appears to intercept new strikes from Iran.
We begin tonight with growing tensions over mass deportations in Los Angeles.
We will liberate Los Angeles.
Hundreds of National Guard troops now on the ground.
Happy birthday, soldiers. We're proud of you. And happy birthday, Mr. President.
Hundreds of thousands of people took to the streets across the country for so-called No Kings demonstrations.
We looked outside and we just saw like an ocean out there.
There's people in it. Oh my God, there's so many people in it.
So many people were in their beds, fast asleep, when the floodwaters began to rapidly rise.
It didn't look like Camp Mystic anymore.
Sean Diddy Combs sinking to his knees in the courtroom.
The jury finding him not guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking.
Oh, look at these people.
Call it a kiss cam catastrophe. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce's widely followed fairy tale is entering its next chapter.
I'm just struck by that shot of Vladimir Putin in the backseat of the vehicle of the Beast alongside Donald Trump smiling and laughing.
Thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war.
The world's top food security watchdog declaring a famine in Gaza's largest city.
We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela. We took it out.
Shots were fired at an event with the conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
After a manhunt that lasted just 33 hours, police say they've caught the suspect who assassinated conservative activist Charlie Kirk.
I forgive him.
Jimmy Kimmel Live will be preempted indefinitely.
When free speech is under attack, what do we do?
That a government threat to silence a comedian the president doesn't like is anti-American.
Day 1 into a partial federal government shutdown. Day 15.
Day 26. Melissa's going to track across Jamaica. We're talking about catastrophic winds and flooding.
But we are still experiencing those strong tropical force storm winds.
We don't have anything, everything washed out. We don't have any clothes for the baby. Everything gone, roof gone, hose gone.
After 738 days, 20 Israelis are finally back home.
This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
Year to date, the S&P 500 is still up over 12%.
Angelino's basking in the glory of back-to-back World Series titles.
I'm ready to get another ring.
Welcome to NBC's special coverage of election night. This is a big night for Democrats.
I just want to congratulate. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor.
You're the only friend I ever had.
And I've had so many friends.
Turn into Wicked Witch.
After 43 days, the government shutdown is now officially over.
A suspect opened fire on National Guard troops near a busy metro station.
It is a showdown worthy of a Hollywood thriller just when it looked like Netflix was going to buy Warner Brothers for a whopping $83 billion. Paramount Skydance attempting a hostile takeover.
We've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela.
An elite Coast Guard team rappelling out of helicopters onto the deck of an oil tanker off the Venezuelan coast.
We are coming on the air with breaking news, a shooting at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island.
We are coming on the air with that horrific Hanukkah attack overseas. 15 people dead, killed by a father and son targeting Jewish people.
There is still very much the shock at the sudden loss of both Reiner and his wife, Michelle.
A rough year for many, so happy New Year from all of us here at Morning News Now, and however you celebrate, we hope you stay safe. That does it for this hour of the news, but the news continues right now. Good morning. It's great to be with you on this New Year's Eve. I'm Jessica Layton in for Joe and Savannah. Right now on Morning News Now, counting down. Security preparations ramp up around the country as the world gets ready for 2026. Here in New York's Times Square, they have already tested the confetti with 1 million people expected in person for a special double ball drop. We have everything you need to know before setting out tonight, including which cities might see snow. Plus, later in the hour, we take one last look back at 2025's biggest stories. On the attack, new action from the Trump administration after those viral video-based allegations of massive daycare fraud in Minnesota. The health department now pausing child care funding for the entire state, while Democrats are accusing the president of playing politics. Making history, New York City gets ready for its new mayor, Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani, to be sworn into office tonight before tens of thousands are expected to line the streets at his star-studded inauguration tomorrow. What his first acts in office could be and how it could impact the rest of the country in what is shaping up to be a consequential year for politics. Also this morning, no more needles. We'll be looking ahead to one of 2026's biggest medical breakthroughs with a new generation of oral weight loss pills set to hit the market early in the new year. What this means for the millions of Americans who rely on the drugs as Oprah speaks out on her own weight loss on GLP-1 meds. But we begin this hour with a look at the New Year's Eve preparations that are happening all across the country this morning, including one of the world's biggest celebrations set to begin just a few blocks away from us in Times Square. New York City police have spent months planning how to handle the more than 1 million people expected to pack in to watch the big ball drop. And this year, there will be more than one ball dropping. 4 minutes past midnight Eastern time, a second ball will drop to celebrate the upcoming 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. NBC News correspondent Emily Ikeda is in Times Square this morning and has the latest. Emily, good morning.
Hey there. Well, a new ball will help welcome in a new year. The 12,000-pound Constellation ball will drop just behind me. And while some 1 million people are expected to pack in here at Times Square to watch the celebrations, the NYPD will be watching the crowd with even more officers this year to make sure everything goes smoothly and safely.
This morning, the confetti is ready.
Dun, da, da! Check it out, guys!
And so are the revelers, with the new year quickly coming into focus.
Getting through 2025 and just embracing 2026.
Authorities in New York City estimate some 1 million people will pack into Times Square tonight to watch the famous ball drop, and they plan to do everything possible to keep them safe.
We do not have right now any specific credible threats against Times Square New Year's Eve celebration this year.
In addition to thousands of police officers keeping a sharp eye out, the NYPD will also have heavy weapons units and pickpocket teams patrolling on the ground, as well as drones and helicopters in the sky.
If we see anything that looks suspicious, we will have teams in place to do appropriate screening.
People planning on ringing in the new year outdoors better bundle up. With temperatures set to drop in Times Square and from Minnesota to Maine, and snow hitting the Northeast. Out west, tomorrow's iconic Rose Parade in Pasadena could feature a rain-soaked procession for the first time in 20 years.
The flowers are going to probably look a little more lively with a little bit of rain, I would imagine.
In New Orleans, authorities, including the National Guard, are beefing up security following the tragic terror attack on New Year's Day a year ago, when a truck drove down Bourbon Street, killing 14 and injuring dozens.
We're going to have close to 800 law enforcement downtown in the French Quarter, and you're going to see an incredible visual presence.
In Philadelphia, authorities unveiling vehicle barriers to keep pedestrians safe.
It'll destroy any vehicle that tries to drive across it.
And now, just hours until the clock strikes midnight, folks in New York City are looking forward to soaking in the moment of a lifetime.
Almost every block I've seen at least one police outside directing traffic, a cop car, so definitely feel safe.
And there will be another special celebration after midnight. At 12:04, the ball will sparkle in red, white, and blue to celebrate America's 250th birthday. And per tradition, there will also be thousands of pounds of this stuff raining down on the crowd, including some handwritten wishes. Back to you.
Emily Ikeda, thanks so much. And as the ball drops, the temperatures will be dropping. So let's get a closer look at what to expect in your area for this New Year's Eve with your Morning News Now weather. Meteorologist Kevin Jeans joins us now. Kevin, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Jessica. So unfortunately, where it's cold, it's also going to be blustery around the Great Lakes. And so areas like Chicago to Detroit, wind chills are going to be down into the single digits tonight. But it's pleasant across the middle of the country. Flood threat once again returning along the west coast. You're going to get more rain developing today, and then it's going to pick up tonight. But that wind is going to increase across the northeast late overnight and into tomorrow, and it's going to be cold across the northeast and those areas where you typically expect it to be cold into New Year's Day. But rain, you heard the first time in 20 years, could be rainy for New Year's Day across Southern California. Flood watches through Thursday evening, and you're going to see some heavier rain develop overnight tonight and through the day tomorrow. There is a low-end risk of a couple of spin-ups and some rotating storms. And what's very rare in January could also be a few lightning strikes overnight into the morning hours tomorrow. But big-time rain. And because the storm system's coming from the south, you have snow elevations that are going to be above about 8,500 feet. So in the south-facing slopes, locally, 4 to 6 inches of rain will be possible across the mountains in Southern California. Then our attention turns to the northeast. More lake effect snow bands setting up. Heavy snow and low visibility possible. You have these winter alerts across the eastern edges of the Great Lakes. And we're looking at more snow that could be, again, over a foot of additional snow. That is on the eastern edge of Lake Erie and Ontario. Once again, and that's going to continue to move east, we'll see maybe a few snowflakes around New York City for New Year's Eve. It's going to feel like the low to mid-20s, though, in New York. So the snow continues, and unfortunately, out west, the rain continues. They're going to get more rain next week.
Yeah, unbelievable. They have had such a rough time. All right, Kevin, thank you. The Trump administration says it is freezing all federal funding for child care programs in Minnesota after a now viral video alleging widespread fraud. The state's Democratic governor is accusing the president of politicizing the issue. NBC News White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez has the latest. He is traveling with the president in South Florida this week. Gabe, good morning.
Jessica, good morning. President Trump and other top officials in his administration have been amplifying allegations of massive fraud in Minnesota. Now, the Department of Health and Human Services says that in addition to halting the federal payments to the state, it's implementing new requirements for child care programs nationwide, and that taxpayer money will be released only when the states prove it's, quote, being spent legitimately.
This morning, a federal investigation into alleged daycare fraud in Minnesota is growing, and the Trump administration says it's halting all federal child care payments to the state.
We believe the state of Minnesota has allowed scammers and fake daycares to siphon millions of taxpayer dollars over the past decade.
Earlier this week, the Department of Homeland Security posting video of agents knocking on doors of more than 30 businesses around Minneapolis in an effort, it says, to root out fraud. Overnight, Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz saying President Trump was politicizing the issue to defund programs that help Minnesotans.
There's no children inside this building.
It all comes after this viral video racked up more than 100 million views online. Right-wing YouTuber Nick Shirley, who describes himself as an independent journalist, says he went to 10 child care centers receiving federal and state subsidies and did not see children at the sites. State officials say many of the centers were previously investigated and no fraud was uncovered, adding 9 of the 10 daycare centers featured in the video are still operating and receiving taxpayer subsidies.
While we have questions about some of the methods that were used in the video, we do take the concerns that the video raises about fraud very seriously.
The director of one of the daycares Shirley visits in the video speaking to NBC affiliate Care 11, saying his center is operational and that employees are now getting threats.
A lot of people are not feeling safe.
The Justice Department has been running sprawling fraud investigations across multiple social service programs in Minnesota for years, starting during the Biden administration. Some of those charged have included members of the state's large Somali community, which has led to President Trump ramping up his rhetoric.
We always take people from Somalia, places that are a disaster.
Federal prosecutors estimate the total amount of fraud in Minnesota could top $9 billion, though state officials have pushed back on that number, saying it's nowhere near that high. Jessica?
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. On Capitol Hill, House Democrats are demanding answers from the White House after President Trump acknowledged a U.S. strike inside Venezuela. The president said Monday that a big facility was hit in a dock area, claiming that's where drugs were being loaded onto boats. But no part of the U.S. government has offered any more details on the strike. But if true, it would mark the first potential land strike in the conflict as the Trump administration ramps up pressure on the Maduro regime. NBC's Bianca Fascini has the latest from Washington.
Members of Congress demanding answers from President Trump after he announced a land-based strike on Venezuela.
I consider that a military act and a potential act of war, and the president needs to be talking to the Congress.
The president said the strike targeted a docking facility used by boats carrying drugs.
They load the boats up with drugs, so we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around.
It's the latest move carried out by the U.S. against Venezuela since September, when the Trump administration started launching strikes against Venezuelan boats that they say were trafficking drugs. But this strike is making members in both parties concerned.
They've been very clear about targeting these drug boats, so we have clear information there. But threatening Venezuela itself, they've been very cryptic and very, I would say, unclear with what they're trying to do there.
The Venezuelan government has yet to comment on the land strike, but President Trump says he spoke with President Nicolas Maduro recently without elaborating much.
I spoke to him recently, pretty recently. Nothing much comes of it.
It remains unclear if anyone in Congress was notified ahead of time, but since this move was carried out by the CIA as opposed to the military, the administration did not seek permission from Congress to conduct it. Now, according to one source familiar with the matter, House Democrats have requested that the White House provide a briefing to all relevant committees on the strike. So we could eventually find out more details about exactly what happened, but it's very unclear what the potential end game is for the administration here. Jessica?
Bianca Fascini, thanks so much. Several major drug makers are preparing to debut weight loss pills as opposed to those injectable drugs. One drug maker says theirs could potentially hit the market within weeks. NBC's Maggie Vespa joins us now live from Chicago with more on this. Maggie, good morning.
Jessica, good morning. Yeah, just in time for resolutions. 2026 looking like the year of the weight loss pill. Pharmaceutical giants Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly, among others, preparing their oral GLP-1s for their big debut, begging a big question. How much will this revolutionize this already booming industry?
With Americans focused on getting fit in the new year,
I don't think I have ever had a New Year's resolution that did not involve losing weight.
a groundbreaking new option is set to shift the weight loss landscape, with two pharmaceutical giants both preparing to debut their oral GLP-1 options. The FDA approving Novo Nordisk's once-daily Wegovy pill last week, with the company stating it's now prepared for a full U.S. launch in early January 2026, with manufacturing underway. Its latest clinical trial results finding people who took the highest dose lost about 16.6% of their body weight on average after 64 weeks. All this compared to Eli Lilly's pill that's awaiting FDA approval, where adults lost 27 pounds over 72 weeks. The pill's set to transform an industry with a growing celebrity fan base. From Serena Williams.
I saw my friends using it, I saw a lot of people on it, and I tried it, and it actually worked.
To Oprah Winfrey. In a new interview with People magazine, she shared her experience with GLP-1s, inspired her to release a new book about her weight loss journey, calling the medication a tool to help you manage the messages that are being sent to your brain about overeating. It's booming business, reshaping spending habits on food.
How do you grocery shop and not waste food on this medication?
According to Reuters, analysts project the accessibility of oral medication could capture 20% of the market by 2030.
There's something more acceptable or palatable about taking a pill.
I'm on week 20. I lost 7
pounds.
Florida mom Shanna Perez began her weight loss journey over the summer with weekly Zepbound injections. So far, she's lost more than 40 pounds.
It helps with portion control, and it also cleans up like some mental clarity about surrounding things around food all the time.
She sees the new daily pills as an alternative to weekly injections, but is still skeptical over that daily demand.
That for me is something to consider just with the busy lifestyle of being a mom.
With good health at the top of many New Year's resolutions, experts say the more options, the better.
We're certainly hoping that more market competition will drive down cost eventually.
All right, so kind of to that end, two questions we've been getting a lot are effectiveness and cost. To question one, experts say injectables are more effective than pills, but not by much. And then when you look at cost, question two, pills are cheaper. And we have some details here if we can pull these graphics up. The starter doses for both Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly's pills, they say, will come in around $149 a month. So compare that to injectables. Eli Lilly's lowest dose of Zepbound is $299 a month, so about twice that. Novo Nordisk is offering a deal until the end of March, letting patients with prescriptions, for what this is worth, get those first two doses of injectables, Ozempic and Wegovy, for $199 a month, and then it goes up to $349. So again, there's some cost savings there, but experts are really honing in, Jessica, on just the idea of having another option in this industry.
Options are always good. Maggie Vespa, thanks so much. Staying on your health news, there's a big healthcare deadline approaching tonight that could impact millions of Americans at midnight. Temporary COVID-era subsidies that were part of the Affordable Care Act are set to expire. 22 million people will likely have to start paying more than double for coverage or get priced out of plans completely. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans is here now to break down what this means really for all of us. Christine, good morning. Good morning. Who is most likely to be impacted when these subsidies expire, and what exactly does this mean for them?
Well, look, these were temporary subsidies that kept getting passed and extended during COVID, and so this was a way that people could afford, really afford their Affordable Care Act health care. 22 million Americans will see higher prices. And remember, this is something that's been a political fight for months. It is now a pocketbook reality for millions. Some premiums could go up 114%. That will be hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars more for the same insurance. These are small business owners and their employees, middle income consumers, people who've retired early and they're not eligible yet for Medicare. Something like, we saw one stat, 34% of all chiropractors, for example, get their insurance through the Affordable Care Act. So when you think about it, it's anybody who's not on Medicare or Medicaid, that's the low-income health care program, or have their insurance through their company. So it's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people. Are there any alternative care options for these folks?
So when people were going on the exchanges and were going through open enrollment, they saw what their prices were going to be. So they're kind of been prepared for the sticker shock. Some people have likely chosen bare bones policies that are cheaper but have less coverage. Many fear, have just walked away and are not getting insurance at all. Some states are trying to figure out if there's some way that they can try to bridge the gap and offer some help, but we don't have anything concrete there yet. And of course, Congress has essentially punted on this. These subsidies will not be extended, at least not in time. So this is the Affordable Care Act. Obamacare is still here. These are those temporary extra subsidies that people enjoyed for several years. Those are going away.
And quickly, we should mention, Congress has punted for now, but they can still act.
They could, but I think for a lot of families, tonight is the night. Right. Those prices go up, though their family budget changes, they've got to find the money.
Christine Romans, thanks so much.
Yep.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.